Yes.
He said if he couldn't,
Yeah, I saw that from
he'd
Virginia.
have somebody else, but he's actually, expecting a new family member soon, so he said it
Oh,
might
okay,
be
that's
a
awesome.
little tenuous, but
Yeah, I thought I'd
he
be
was
doing the
gonna-
same.
have it scheduled and try to make it, so
Okay, that's good.
we'll see what that
By
is.
all means.
And then Chaz was our,
Yeah,
only other,
yeah. I forgot there was a thing at the commons there. That's what Betty makes. At the commons. 2 minutes, a minute. Gotta leave for Kentucky tomorrow morning, so. For a week.
She has her microphone shut off.
Yeah, I see that's muted.
I don't know, does she typically
I
talk to you guys or
well,
just?
yeah, so
Yeah.
upstairs they have the owl.
Oh, thing in the
I
middle.
don't know if.
We
We do
have,
too.
we're on the owl, so
Oh,
everything
Oh, yeah,
is,
you didn't
Oh,
see it.
okay.
so for
So-
us, the microphones and everything off the
Yeah.
owl
Okay.
and the
So-
video, but she has her
Karen, can
microphone.
you, if you can hear us, can you wave your arms or something, give us a signal? Karen, are you hearing us?
I don't think she can. She's not reacting.
Make a sign?
Can you, oh, I can log into the
Oh,
meeting
yeah,
from here,
you can
so
get it, yeah.
let me get in and I can send her a text message
Alright.
through the chat window here.
Oh, someone's coming
Give me a second,
in. And
make
that
sure.
is who?
That's, Karen Chapman
Yeah.
and, so it looks like, Bernard Cahill, I believe he's with.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
Who was that was speaking now?
Meeting.
I have no.
Oh, it's Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, yep.
Yep.
That's Aaron. Okay.
We're just waiting for
Chaz.
a couple more folks here to see if we can get,
A quorum. Well, let's, yeah. Well,
I think we got a quorum,
We do,
but
we do.
we did wanna have Chaz if he's able to make it,
Mhm.
and Jordan.
You do need to have Chaz in order to have quorum.
What was it? No. Huh?
Yeah, Aaron, I think we were discussing this, at the last meeting, so our committee is actually, we only have 2 standing members.
Yeah.
On the board right now, Natalie and I.
But it's based on the number of total members, not the number of, members that are, the positions that are filled.
So
we,
4.
yeah, we were talking about this with, Veronica. Veronica's a long time, public servant here. She's been through that rule, and she was fairly convinced that it's actually the number of seated members. It needs to be a majority of the number of seated
No,
members.
you don't count
Is
your
that-
vacancies.
You don't?
If
You
you have
don't count the
vacancies, you
vacancies,
don't
right, yeah.
count them.
So
You
Yeah,
count
that
how
was
many
the-
members are actually alive and well and assigned, well, you don't have to be alive or well, but, on the committee.
Well is a relative.
I mean, and you
term,
guys-
so that might be,
You guys are elected, right? Yeah.
yeah, we're both
Uh-huh.
elected.
So if you're elected and you have,
We have 1 vacant, seat on the board.
Vice chair.
but you guys are the only actual elected members that exist,
That are
Yes.
seated.
Yeah,
right, that exists, right?
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
But you have a vacancy, so,
Yeah, we have.
yeah, so, yeah, you have a quorum.
We have a quorum, and,
Okay.
um,
Well, what is Erin?
She's the administrative assistant.
She's what?
She does
grant administration.
grant and.
Oh,
yes,
okay,
yeah,
I didn't know who,
She does all the,
okay.
does all this setup and everything, and all the.
And
all the-
what are you doing
all
about,
the-
I'm just curious, what are you doing about your vacancy?
Oh, it's been advertised, I know that. We
Oh,
figured out
okay.
It's been advertised like everybody else. It's on the, I know it's on the, town website.
It's on the board out front.
Yeah, yeah, so.
So then once you
it's
get an
been
applicant, you'd
publicized.
go to the Board of Selectmen and
Yeah,
get them
they just
appointed
gotta
and all that
fill
kind of
a
stuff.
volunteer slip, that's all.
That's too bad nobody wants to, huh?
It happens. Okay. So.
I think that's why Veronica had so much experience with it. She's been
Yeah.
on boards that have been loaded with vacancies for a while.
Just give it one more minute. and we'll
It gets
start.
confusing.
Yes, it does. We'll give it 2 minutes, we'll start at 18:05. That would be fair to say. No, it's not right.
Oh, Chaz isn't just your state rep, he's actually, is he appointed onto the board, or is he still just the state rep?
State rep, I believe.
Rep.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm, yes. Rep.
And selectmen's liaison, right?
I'm not, I thought it was Teresa, don't quote me on that, I think it is, but I'm not sure, I had to
Yeah,
look
they
up the list.
They changed it, they probably just changed everybody in April anyway.
Yeah, I saw the, I don't remember on that one. I know it was flag committee, Teresa's on flag, I know that. And bylaws too, if I remember right, bylaws review, I think Teresa, I just saw her, she just did some driving for DAB today. So. 1 minute, we'll start in 1 minute, then that way we can get going. I still gotta pack for my trip.
Time's your flight.
6 a.m. Betty May's picking me up at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're flying out
Well,
of Manchester.
Betty May will make sure you're on time.
Oh, I know, and I'm an on-time person.
Where are you
so-
flying out of?
Manchester.
Oh, good.
Manchester, Chicago, Louisville. And then
To
we'll grab a
Chicago,
cab.
we get to Louisville.
Well, we're flying out of Manchester. We flew out of Boston, we get direct flight. But this has been paid for by National. I'm on a point position with,
Not taking Delta, right?
National.
Don't fly
No,
Delta.
You're not
No,
going
no,
Delta?
no, we're flying.
They're still
South-
trying to figure out
We're doing Southwest.
who's on first.
Yeah, no, we're flying Southwest. I've flown them before. I like JetBlue better though. Okay, let's get the meeting started. It's alright, 5 after. Let's go. How many people on the other committee?
Recording in progress.
Alrighty. I'm gonna have you take the floor.
We have a flag to,
Yeah, we do. It's right over there. You take the floor.
right, pledge allegiance.
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, thank you. You take it. I'm just ready to go. I'll take the call.
So, thank you, everyone for being here.
Roll call.
So, hopefully we will, have our contact from the veterans group join us at some point, if not tonight. Just so everybody has some context, Jordan Clevenow is a veterans agent that I have contact with in my role I work for the Continuum of Care, which is the homeless service, HUD's homeless service agency out of Worcester County, as my day job. And I have some contact with Jordan Clevenow through that work. We frequently find ourselves in common meetings, but he's a fantastic resource for veteran resources, and he is intimately familiar with a supply of vouchers that are available for veterans that would be potential resources that are available from HUDs. This is a federal resource that communities like ours potentially have the option to be able to apply for and bring back to the local community. So from talking with Natalie here over the last several months and in our time on this board together, it became clear that, you know, that would be a really nice opportunity. Natalie, I think safe to say that you are familiar with the veteran population and community here.
Well, we also
To a
did,
degree that,
yeah, there's also ClearPath at Devon's that has, housing for homeless, but that's another arena, but there is options out there. I know the VASH program, I know you can buy a house with some of these
sure,
different programs other than, you know, your perk that you get for being in the military. So there's a variety of federal and I'm almost sure the state, I'm not gonna quote myself on that yet, at
Yeah,
the meeting, but the opportunity is out there for
So
veterans and some families as well.
it's a rich package of benefits
Yes.
that are available. And is
Yeah.
it safe to say that you're in touch with the community, where
Oh.
you would be aware of some candidates
Yes.
within the community that
Within
would
the
be both interested and potentially eligible to receive some of these benefits?
Yeah, but yes, because there's always
Yeah.
people are transitioning back and forth from military to civilian life. I get a listing of who's coming back and I usually touch base with them
Right,
to see how they're doing and what they need from us, because, you know, we get the benefits and the perks, we just get the information out there. So I go to different locations like the senior center, as well as the, you know, VFW, which is the Veterans Council. So we discussed that, so they can know they've got benefits besides VA.gov, that's a big thing, and the state has a lot of opportunities too for housing and other, benefits, so.
Yeah. And so Natalie's obviously a leader here within our local community, is just very, very enmeshed within the community, and anyone who is a veteran in need, I think people know that Natalie is a go-to person that they can get in contact with. So we thought for that reason, and for, you know, my experience working with the COC in Worcester, I'm familiar with the HUD funding protocols. The application process with HUD requires, it's a fairly complex annual funding cycle called a NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability, that's published annually. Communities that are interested in this have to make a bid for these vouchers, that they're not just automatically awarded. And then based on those communities that make the bid that prove to be, you know, most eligible, the awards are made by the federal funder. So in this case, we're talking about, it's called the VASH voucher program, which is a NOFA that we think we could make a stab at making an application for a small pool of those as a starting point to be able to pull some of that funding back into Townsend and help out some of our local community. Now, one of the factors for doing this that I think is typically a bit intimidating, particularly for small communities, and you know, we're looking at our board of 3 that has an empty seat, and you know, it is essentially Natalie and I who meet here, you know, once a month. It's a little bit intimidating to think that if we're assuming responsibility for a going concern that's going to require, you know, a rent roll to be maintained, the accounting has to be maintained, and unit inspections have to be arranged for and organized. So as we were thinking about this as a small community, we thought it would, you know, that capacity issue is a non-trivial limit to what we would be able to assume personally. But that's part of what we reached out to you, Karen, for, and hopefully, you know, between you and Bernard, we're hoping that you guys might be able to either get us in touch with some other communities that are similarly situated, where rather than us going it alone, we might be able to share the load of some of that responsibility, and or maybe even, you know, find a community that has some well-developed capacity that we could, you know, we could offer to give them some of the administrative funds that come along with these vouchers to help arrange to have it organized in a way that leaves the responsibility, the burden of responsibility to our small team to a minimal degree. So we can make decisions about, you know, how we do the housing allocation plan, but don't necessarily have to assume all of the responsibility for getting everything done once we've deployed a voucher. So that's kind of where we're at. That's the discussion that we started to have, I think, in our last meeting now. And I don't know if that's a good place to stop and invite some discussion from
Sure, yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So it's veterans that live in Townsend, but the vouchers they get, they can go anywhere.
So my understanding, and I wish Jordan were here to be able to help answer this, but my understanding is that that's the case, yes. It's not necessarily a lock-in in that respect, but there's an element of, we need to formulate a housing allocation plan, and part of the terms of that plan would provide some, I think there's some local control over exactly how this is handled. Like, for example, does the person have to currently live in Townsend? Or do they just have to demonstrate that maybe they went to high school here and graduated, and they haven't lived here in a while, but you know, they have some ties here. You know, I don't know exactly where the HUD requirement leaves off and the local decision is left up to the local community yet, but we're at that place where we are heading down the path of seriously wanting to engage in entering into that contract with HUD, and when we do, part of that is us writing that plan that would dictate these terms. But we wanna be sure that before we take that leap, you know, we have some preparation in place. That's why we've invited you to sort of help us understand what you might be aware of for resources to help with our capacity.
Okay, so, Bernie did some research. I don't know, Bernie, if you wanna jump in and say.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping Jordan would be here already. Quick question. So, like, there's a lot of moving parts for this. What is the local regional Veterans Administration like facility? Is that out of Worcester?
I believe Worcester's
Worcester's, yeah, as far as,
Worcester, all
as
right.
far as size.
So
yes.
if I'm understanding this correctly, and I'll have to ask Jordan this, I think he would would have to reach out to them because if I'm getting this, the VA medical centers or VAMCs as they're called, would have to play an integral part with this.
Yep.
And then also any housing authority, if I'm reading this correctly, understanding what they're saying on the web page is that they have to become designated, public housing agencies like yours has to become a designated service provider.
right.
In order to deal directly with the veterans in terms of administering support, and kind of acting. So like most of the time the VA medical centers play that role. So they would either be the ones who are in touch with the veterans already, or the veterans themselves reach out through them, and then they seek help about where they're gonna go. If my understanding, again, I don't know, Jordan can answer this question, is that if a local housing authority wants to engage in that role in some way, shape, or form, that they have to become designated, which is a whole process and paperwork and all that.
That's
Something we can definitely help
yes.
with.
That's exactly the place that we're at, is we're entertaining becoming that kind of a housing authority. We currently do not have a contract, but we're at the point where we think this would be of value to the community, and we see the opportunity with the board that we have right now, and we think it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And Natalie, are you the veterans agent
I am,
just for Townsend or?
just for Townsend.
And do you talk with other veterans agents, or do you have a group that meets or anything like that?
Well, we have a association that there's always chats going on with, we have open communication with what's going on, what's new, what's happening. If I need to ask a question, I've only been doing this a year and a half, we do have conferences. I reach out to some of the VSOs and I put it out there and I get the right information, the correct information, and that way we, do it the right way. I know a person that did get a VASH and she bought a house at Devon's with the system, I'm not sure how it was done, but that's what we need to know. We don't wanna just jump in here and go, we don't know. We
Right.
wanna make sure we do it by the numbers, as we always do in the military. Do it by the numbers, do it right and not be repetitive. We make mistakes, but we wanna make sure we do the right thing first. And I do get a listing of veterans that do need us. A lot of them are in the housing here in Townsend, but you've got, I hate to say, the kids that are coming off of active duty and deployments, because there are still deployments going on, that we can assist, whether it's Townsend, whether it's other communities, because there's always that connection. We're always connected. If you wanna live in Townsend, great, that's fabulous, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of different parts, like you said, that we can entertain to get, to get it going, to get the communities, I guess, moving again, alive again for housing and make it
Yeah.
appealing. And that's what we want. We're a community of veterans. We wanna make sure we can, help families, widows, and, retirees as well.
Well, like you said, if you can imagine, a young service member coming home right now, the housing market, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing for a living, but, in a military salary, trying to buy a home in this market is just, good luck. I mean, my God, it's gone berserk. So that's the situation everybody's confronted with, but, we just feel like it would be, this resource is available, and we don't wanna miss the opportunity to try to do something to make a difference. We felt like this would be, if we can pull this off, whether it's a handful to start with, or, if that's all we do, so be it, but, maybe we could you have that be a starting point of making a difference with a little bit of a process we can build on.
So we do have funding right now to assist our communities with federal grant applications, so we have that capacity. We have never done this before. I was involved in a HUD application for the Townsend Woods, but that's my extent of experience with HUD, but we're quick learners and we know how to follow the directions. And with your help in gathering information, you know, we can reach out to other communities, you know, that have like Leominster or Fitchburg, who have more capacity, that may be able to serve as your administrative / financial responsible person.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
the person, because you guys don't own any property,
No.
so I don't
We
know
don't.
if that's like a prerequisite that if a housing authority applies for veterans vouchers, do they have to already own something?
No, so this is a rental subsidy, so.
So they can go anywhere, and you, as the agency that's applying, doesn't have to
Right.
have housing for them to get into.
Right, it's
Okay.
just like, it's a housing voucher basically, where they take that, ideally, well, the idea being, they go find a landlord that, you know, the rent is say $2,000 a month, and if the voucher is enough to cover $1,600 a month, you know, the voucher's gonna help them with that portion, they're responsible for the balance.
Okay, we got a question.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
The VASH program for this area is operated out of the Bedford VA Hospital. They have a VASH
Okay.
office, and
Okay.
Yep.
they help the veterans in this area get housing. So this person you're talking about that got something in, if they did it through VASH, if it was VASH that
Yep.
that got them the housing, then it was through the Bedford VA. They manage the whole thing. So
Cause there's so many
Well,
different
so
programs out there, so.
well, it's
The
only
VASH
VASH is
program-
VASH. There isn't
Right.
like more than one VASH.
Okay, yeah,
Bedford.
Well, the VASH program, the VA isn't a housing administrator. So we are the housing authority that would be the housing administrator, so the VA is engaging with the local housing authorities to be able to make it available. So, if you have a
But
friend
it
that
has a
received
clinical
one,
component.
you know, maybe they
Yeah.
received it from the Fitchburg Housing, or the Shirley Housing Authority, but it would go through a housing authority in order for it to be deployed. And what we're saying is, you know, as the Townsend Housing Authority, there's no reason that we couldn't also be a venue that the VA is able to make those resources available through.
Sure, as long as you got housing to provide.
exactly.
We don't need to
No,
provide the
no.
housing, this is a
No.
subsidy for, the person can use it to rent,
Okay.
Okay,
you know, so long as that there's rental housing available
Mhm.
on the market.
Okay.
Which is, I know that's a challenge too, but that's
Yeah.
another whole ball of wax.
we're getting.
Just a side question I had, I know the housing authority in the past had been looking at building veterans housing, and I don't know where that ever went.
That was Sojourn, that wasn't approved by a community. It was Sojourn that we had visited the housing authority when I first came on board down in Agawam, if I remember right. So we were still new at trying to figure out the housing, and I'd actually throw that at Chaz, because he was more, Chaz Durrani, he was more involved with that. I was just coming on board. So I would venture that, or I'd also check the minutes of those meetings, like 5 years back to see where we were. And Laura Schiffern was also on the committee as well. So it would, you know, I know it was voted down at a, town meeting, I know that, I was at the meeting, so. And there's other avenues, Sojourn, that we can venture at. I mean, we're looking for ideas, you know, we wanna help veterans, we wanna help their families. Bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, there's property at Atwood, I mean, there's 11 acres at Atwood that
Yeah.
should be built upon.
I had a quick question. Excuse me, have you reached out to the Affordable Housing Trust in Townsend?
Yes.
Have they played a role in this at all? Are they aware of this issue, and
They're
are you
aware
working
that-
together?
Yes, so part of what, part of what I'm describing is it is a framework of a relationship with HUD. So even though we're talking about VA sponsored vouchers, the VA is a federal funder, so the funds are actually coming from HUD for the housing voucher. This is very similar to the Section 8 or Housing Choice Voucher subsidies. These are handled in the same way, but they're just they're given a veteran preference as opposed to, you know, a housing choice voucher would be a low-income housing voucher that a housing authority would administer. But once we have established a relationship with HUD in being able to make applications for funding, there isn't a element of our relationship that is limited to just the veteran component. So it would open the possibility of us being able to apply for other kinds of vouchers. Say, for example, there's vouchers that are available for domestic violence survivors. There are vouchers that are available for low income, vouchers that are available for veterans in this case. But we felt like the veteran opportunity right now, given Natalie's experience in the community and, you know, the fact that we can potentially get a little bit of support from folks like Jordan and others that have some experience and are able to lend themselves to it, we could get something stood up to build that relationship with HUD, that once it's there, then we could leverage that for, you know, maybe some additional opportunities in other ways. Or senior housing is another one, one of the voucher options that are, you know, made available through those processes, so, yeah.
So do we want to figure out, you know, what we're gonna do to prep for this? Like, Bernie, when is the deadline is it a rolling thing, or? You're muted.
That was a little unclear to me too, looking through this. I think I'm just gonna give the VA a call tomorrow and try to figure this out. Again, I was hoping Jordan would give us maybe some clues about.
Me too. I've had conversation with him about it and offline, and basically he left me, I can just give you this. He left me feeling confident that there would be something that they would be able to do from their side to help walk us through the process of being able to access some of these vouchers. Now, they typically get batches of funding, and that typically comes in a batch for an annual cycle, and sometimes it's off cycle, but typically that's the way it works. Well, they'll get an annual funding stream of, you know, X number of millions of dollars to provide vouchers for this particular region, and you know, we were basically making application for some of those funds for our community. And, you know, he said that they had, I believe, another small, I want to say it was Webster maybe, down in South County, that recently went through a similar process. And, you know, he was familiar with what they were doing. And it sounded not too dissimilar to what we're setting out to do, where it was a small quantity of vouchers for batch vouchers that they started with, and they're building from there. So I think he has walked this road enough that it would definitely be helpful, but he left me optimistic that it would also be fruitful. Whether or not it can happen in this year's funding cycle, you know, having the pieces in place to unlock it in a subsequent cycle he left me feeling optimistic that we could get something done.
So
I mean, there's no deadline on signing up to be a designated service provider. So I mean, we can do that at any point.
We can begin doing some of that work so that those pieces are in place, so that when a NOFA becomes available, asking for qualified communities to make the application, we're a qualified community at that point. We can then, you know, strike at that opportunity when it becomes available.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So I guess, how do you want to proceed? Do you want us to start gathering information for the application? Do we want to have another meeting where we know that Jordan can be here and answer questions, or?
So I would definitely love, to be able to get Jordan or one of his, peers at some point to join us from that side, definitely.
And we can meet with them separately, I mean,
Sure.
we can get the lowdown on the
Yeah.
process and
Yep.
how best to proceed.
Yeah, if you're able to, I don't know about you, Natalie, but for my part, would be comfortable with you guys having the conversation, you know, independent of me.
Oh, of course,
And is there a, you know, not having looked at the application, is there a number that you're looking at? Like a number of people,
Yeah.
or an amount of money, or?
I think it would be probably appropriate for us to start out with a modest target. I was thinking like maybe 5 vouchers would be like feel like a number that, you know, would be, wouldn't get overwhelming, you know, to start with, and then it would give us enough opportunity to have a few examples to work through that, you know, by the end of working through 5, if assuming we get that we would feel, you know, confident that we'd seen the process enough to know, okay, is this something can we scale that? Or is that, you know, is that enough? You know, is Townsend really only gonna be able to handle that? But, yeah, I think 5 was just a round number that I had in mind, and I don't, did we discuss that?
I
The
think
last-
because
we
we
might have-
wanted to start
Yeah,
and then, you know, learn as we go or
yeah,
go in the right direction.
Yeah.
This way we know what the interest is
Yep.
for housing. We have to, you know, almost like do a scale on it to see what's out there. And we have a lot of seniors that are in housing right now, as we know, over at Atwood Acres and Townsend Woods. But we're getting more, the senior community is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
Plus, we're having families move into Townsend as well. It's a combination of growth and taking care of our
Yes.
senior veterans. It's a little, you know, transition always happens, ups and downs and everything else. So we gotta look at the whole picture and see what we have for, I know the senior center has these, you know, the forecast of, you know, the senior population and everything else. I'm also on the Council on Aging at Townsend, I look at the senior center, so I have an insight on that at our meetings. But, yeah, starting at 5 would be really the right number, because this way we do it, but getting Jordan involved and getting the questions, like you said, talking to the VA. I mean, I've got some resources I'm gonna hit this week. I'm going to a VFW convention this week, leaving tomorrow, so I've got a lot of VSOs are in the VFW that I can ask these questions and who to go to and how they're doing it, and get the information, you know, get the, so we can take a look at it, on a separate side, but the questions and what they're doing, you know, what the format is, what the manual is on how we should be doing this, and this way we can go, do it the right way and not have to, you know, question ourselves in doing it by regulation and everything else like that. So it just, again, 5 would be reasonable for us, at least to start with, and see where we can go with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, relate to the community, which, you know, as the veteran service officer I do, with other veteran service officers, it's not just this town, it's everywhere else, so it's not just limited, so we can just see what happens.
Yeah.
But get the information out there and get, the more we
Yeah,
know,
but
the better.
you wouldn't wanna go for, you know, 50 of
No.
them, you know,
Right,
because
no.
you know,
No.
if you ask for that resource, the odds, we're just not really
Realistic.
confident we could fill that kind of volume, right? But at 5, that feels like a number that we might be within striking range of being able to actually employ those, and, you know, if we do, we find the demand is actually greater, then we can,
Then we
in
move
the subsequent
forward. Yeah.
cycle, we can apply for more.
Definitely.
But we wouldn't feel like we're harboring resources that aren't gonna get used if we ask for 5. That feels like a reasonable ask.
Yeah, I think that's a realistic goal as a pilot project. I think that's good. I think you're aiming at the right number.
Okay.
So what I can do is I can reach out to Jordan on my own,
Okay.
if everyone's okay with that.
Absolutely.
Have a one-on-one with, you know, maybe with Karen too, if she's available, and try to figure out exactly the process, the steps that we can take, and then see what MRPC can do to help draft some of this paperwork and organize this and coordinate. There's certainly some paperwork to be done, but let's talk to Jordan first and then see if there's other VA contacts. Natalie, if you have other veteran contacts, I do through my own family, I have a few people, but if you have some that you want to share and email over to me, if you think I should speak with them, that's great, please do.
I'll ask this weekend when I see them. I'm going to a conference this week, so convention, so I'll see my counterparts tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
So I'll find out who knows
yeah.
what and I know there's a lot that can, I mean, Leominster has, Rick, Vitor, and I know he's retiring in January, but he's a wealth of information. Same thing with, Michelle over in Fitchburg. I've worked with them to see, you know, where we can go and how we can do this right, and they do it all the time. But they're bigger than, I mean, obviously we're small, but they're bigger and they know what steps to take. So I think by reaching out, again, talking to Jordan, we're gonna start off small and then see where we are. At least we'll be helping our veterans and their families. That's the bottom line.
So
To get the housing,
absolutely.
that's the bottom line.
maybe I can just mention, I have done a fair amount of research just in terms of how the housing authority engages in the transactional contractual relationship with HUD, right? So there's a key contract called an ACC contract, and in this moment, I am not remembering what the A and the C stands for, but that essentially is sort of the keys to the castle with HUD, which gives you, it's an IDIS number, which is a number that gets attached to funding, right? So under that contract, you are given the privilege of being able to make bids on funding opportunities when they are posted. And when that funding becomes available, it gets deposited to your IDIS account, which is what the rent would eventually be deployed to in order to fund your vouchers, right? So this ACC contract is actually with HUD and not a VA agreement. So that's a piece that I've started to investigate on my own exactly how that has to be arranged. And that's a piece that the town actually has to enter into the contract with HUD. So this is a piece that I think we're gonna need Chaz's help with.
Yes.
But just so you know, that's another thread of work that I've kind of been working on in parallel. And I think part of what we need to be able to do is make the case for A, that there's an opportunity here that's really worth pursuing, but B, that we have a plan in place so that if we are awarded vouchers and we do engage in housing someone with those vouchers, that we have the capacity here. We figured out how to manage that capacity question that I think has been a barrier to us ever being able to engage in this agreement with HUD directly before. And so that's actually a piece I think we really could use to help with is, you know, if we could enter into the contract, be awarded the vouchers, you know, Natalie and I could manage what the housing allocation plan is, but then once we've allocated the housing to a veteran, that veteran's housing has to be inspected annually. The rent has to be paid to the landlord from a bank account that, you know, frankly, I'm not planning to become an accountant part-time and do that myself, and I don't really think Natalie is prepared herself to, and I don't think our grant administrator really has the capacity to do it. But if we could find, say, Fitchburg or Shirley and have someone from one of these other regional authorities that we could partner with and get some support for in that regard, I think having a plan in place for how we could do that will be important when we take this to our Board of Selectmen and ask them, we would like to enter into this agreement to be able to pull some of these resources back. This is what we're planning, you know, having at least, you know, one or two communities that we've spoken with that have expressed willingness to enter into some sort of an agreement of that nature would be, I think, a healthy talking point when we make the presentation.
So
All
we'll
right.
Yeah, we'll do some homework then. Okay.
So do you guys have a regularly scheduled meeting, like
Yeah, August eighth.
every month or every
Yeah,
2 weeks, or?
August eighth is the next meeting.
August eighth?
August eighth.
August eighth.
August eighth is our next meeting at 6 p.m. So we'll get with Aaron on that. So that's our next meeting, formal meeting, as we can.
Okay,
So you can let us know, you know, well, I'll do my part and I'll see what I can find out this week and which ways to go and who's been doing what. I'll do it this week.
okay.
I'll
And
try to,
other states too.
I'll try to really formalize the detail that I understand about this ACC contract and pull that detail together. I have, your emails, would that be, appropriate? So assuming I get everything together, can I just share by email with
Yes,
both of you, or?
Okay.
yes, please.
Okay.
Bernie's the lead on it, but I need to know what's going on.
I have a few of those kind of relationships in my life, yes.
And I had another question. So typically when we apply for federal grants, whoever's applying needs to have a SAM registration, SAM, SAM. And I assume that Townsend has one.
Yes, Townsend has one.
Okay,
We can connect on that later.
okay. And Erin, do you want to, how involved do you want to be with us? Are you gonna be like a go-between and to give us narrative or information, or are we going directly to Jack and Natalie, or?
So I've only been here for a couple of months, so I'm not sure how the Townsend Housing Authority, there we go, usually likes to handle this. Most other boards and committees they give me the information, and then I work with the other entities, like we've done with the other grants that we've worked on together so far, the town and MRPC.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how the housing authority would like to handle
I
this.
wanna do it that way.
Okay,
I totally, Aaron, that would be a good thing, the right thing to do, you know, do what you've been doing with the other committees, I would say yes on that.
Okay.
You agree? Because that way
Sure.
we can get all the
By the
information
numbers?
out, by the numbers, definitely by the numbers, we have to, that way
Okay.
we don't skip something.
Yep.
If that's okay with you, Aaron?
yeah,
Okay, so
Okay.
Erin, you can learn something in the process.
sure, yeah.
How fun federal grants are.
Oh, I've done federal grants.
All right, so rather than send my email, explaining what it is that I, as I understand it with the ACC application process, to you guys directly, I'll send it to Erin, and Erin, you'll forward it on.
That makes sense.
Yes, we
Is
can
that
do it that way.
Yeah, okay,
That
Sounds
works.
good.
making sure I got it right.
That sounds like a plan.
It's just easier to have one liaison between us and the town, so that we don't have people emailing randomly, going rogue.
Yes,
We also want to be aware of open meeting laws, so
Yes.
Yep.
if we're emailing information back and forth and there's a quorum on the other end of the emails, that's not good. So if Aaron's a go-between, then that avoids that
Okay.
complication.
Alright. Anything else?
All right,
Oh.
so we'll let you know if we need to come to your August 8th meeting with information and answers. I imagine we will.
Alright.
So we
Fantastic.
tentatively have it in our calendar.
Alright.
okay, and I will, I know
I want you
you
to
all,
email in between.
well, I know you all are intending to reach out to Jordan, so,
Yeah.
if, in that conversation, if you'd be willing to ask him if he can make the August 8th meeting, that would be fantastic from our perspective. I'll also do the same if, I'm actually imagining he might actually be, he might have a family growing like at the moment, which is maybe why he's not here, which is something he explained was a possibility. So I'm sure he has very good reason. But yeah, if that works, I think it would be great if we can get, whether it's him or somebody from that side of the
the VA.
the House to be able to join us. That would be
Okay.
super helpful.
All right, great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You
Yeah, you too.
Alright. Okey-dokey. So where are we?
Let's see, do we have other work we need to?
No,
attend
I mean,
to?
we
Do
need
we
to,
have,
we approve the we need to do approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah,
I
do
think-
we have minutes from last meeting?
Aaron, I think it should go.
I was not a part of your last meeting, so I don't know if you have any
Then we'll
minutes.
put
I
it
don't
on.
know how that was.
So
We'll put it
the
on.
last meeting actually was continued until
Yes,
now, but
yes,
I
we'll-
quite honestly can't even
No, that's
remember the previous meeting, what
Mm.
our discussion
Well,
points
we
were.
can- we'll go back to it in the August meeting then. That way we can
Yes, okay,
see where we are, and we've already discussed everything I think we need to do.
yeah, I think that was,
That was it.
that was a pretty substantial,
I mean, it
um,
covers everything. And, we just pull our resources together and you find out, we all find out
Yeah.
how would you do this with communities, any IDs, IDIS, and let's just go
The
with that
IDIS
until
numbers.
August, that
Yep.
way we have the information.
Yep.
And so,
you know, there was one thing I did wanna ask you,
Mhm.
NARO, do you remember do we have
Oh, I
a
remember
NARO
that.
account?
I would have, maybe Aaron might know, I'm not I don't know if we do or not, I think we do,
NARO is, it's a,
membership, right?
it's like a association of housing authorities
We were gonna
and,
pay for that, I wanna know whether we can,
yeah, I think it was like $100 a year or
I
something
think it was
like that.
$180, I think Aaron and I were discussing that.
But it's a,
So-
because it's a group of housing authorities,
Okay.
they do this sort of thing that, you know, they work with vouchers all the time, and I think there might be some good resources there.
Okay,
That we, even if it's just online, stuff we can look up, or maybe someone we can make phone calls to
we have
know,
it, yeah,
get
we
some
have that,
advice.
we just gotta, give the approval for Aaron, I know we have money in the account, we can
Okay.
pay for that. Aaron, could you take care of the membership for that?
Yeah,
do we-
it's already been processed,
Already
I
been
believe.
processed.
It's
Okay.
with finance at the moment, I think.
Okay, no,
Okay.
that's fine, at least we know
Great.
where it's at, thank you.
If there's some sort of like a user account to log in on the web or something like that, is that something that, you'd be able to share by email if we get it?
I can look into that. I don't know anything about it, but I can look
Yeah.
through Allison's old files and see
Okay.
if it's anywhere in there, or see if I can find a contact for somehow to reset it.
Yes.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Okay, other than that, that's all we have, as far as I know,
Yes,
okay?
me too.
Do we have any correspondence, Aaron? Do we have any correspondence?
Well, there's a couple other items
Oh,
on the
okay.
agenda.
Okay,
So the MBTA community's draft bylaw language, I don't know if the housing authority wanted to provide any comments onto, what I sent over, specifically section I is something that has to do with housing. And also the hazard mitigation plan and the municipal vulnerability plan, that was another thing that was sent along. The land use department is looking for any comments on that plan. If the housing authority would like to make any comments, as well as during sorry, looking at the agenda, as well as the housing production plan, if there's any goals or tracking, on any updates that you would like to make or would like to make sure that we are moving forward on.
So I know we've looked at the housing production plan before, and I know we've been looking at some of the properties that are
okay.
on that list, and also collaborating with the Affordable Housing Trust Committee, who
That's what we're doing.
you know, they had some ideas as well, and I think, I think the way it was written last was pretty consistent with the discussions we've had. I don't recall anything being
Out of the ordinary.
any sort of change in direction
No.
from what was on that, when we worked on it with Courtney.
So we need
about
to
a
go
year
back,
ago.
I wanna go back to that, then we'll
Yeah.
pull it back up and look at it again.
Yeah,
Um,
Erin, did you
yeah.
send an email with the,
uh,
with the MBTA?
Yes, it was in the email that I sent on Monday.
okay.
Was it sent to, all of us, or was it just sent to the chair?
All of us,
It was sent to all of you.
okay. Then
Okay, is there an attachment, or is it just a regular email?
There
Oh,
is
I'm sorry,
attach the agenda and a zip drive of the packet.
okay,
That's what
my apologies,
computer.
I see it now,
Okay.
thank you.
Can you put it up there or no?
Um,
Do we need to go over it, or do we need just?
Well, there was
to
that-
look?
You said item I in particular was one that you thought would be, relevant to getting some
Yes,
comments
that
on the
one
housing?
has the provision of workforce dwelling units, so that's something that may be of interest to the housing authority.
Sounds
Yes,
good, yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
If it's helpful, I can screen share that section.
Yeah,
Yes,
if you wouldn't mind, that would be
please.
great, I've been sitting there struggling with my,
Oh, can the host please allow screen sharing for me?
Screen sharing, we need a
Are you able to
screen
help,
share.
enable screen share? I
Screen
think there's a,
Yeah, screen share with Erin.
What's that?
Screen
she needs a
sharing.
screen share.
Yes, please. She needs permission.
She's got it shut off.
Nine.
I don't control that.
Oh, Erin,
Who's got it?
She's got her microphone on, but not her camera.
oh,
No,
Yeah,
the
my,
camera.
I
I
think
think
that
I
my
know what it
computer
is.
restarted and
Can I-
it would not allow, it doesn't allow me to turn on my camera right now.
We
I'm
don't
not sure if the
restrict
update did something or, but it says that the host has disabled, participant screen sharing.
Can I think I've seen this up. Oh, we are shared, we're not sharing, there any more? More.
You go up. See, I don't control her camera.
What if we make you a co-host? See if that works.
That should work?
Okay. Okay, you're a co-host now.
Okay. All right.
Because once we
Perfect.
admit, they can do
Yeah.
camera and you control it from your own PC.
Yeah, okay,
Alright,
looks
here
like
we
we're
go.
seeing it now.
make it bigger.
You don't need that one.
Yeah.
This one. Can you see that all right?
Make it
Give us a
bigger.
second to get close, maybe, want me to read it to you,
Yeah,
Natalie?
yeah, please.
Okay, so section I, mandatory provision of workforce dwelling units.
Okay, that's,
All developments of the, MFOD, MFOD stands for,
Mandatory for, workforce development units, I believe.
okay, that contain 10 or more dwelling units shall include workforce dwelling units that comprise 10% of the total number of those dwelling units constructed or developed in each such development. Workforce dwelling units for the purpose of this section shall be restricted to households with income at or below 80% of the area median income as adjusted for household size as published by U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the Boston, Cambridge, Quincy metro area and eligible for inclusion on the subsidized housing inventory maintained by HLC. Developments that are subject to section shall comply with no development shall be subdivided, phased to avoid requirements of this section. Workforce dwelling units shall be proportionally dispersed through the development with respect to location, unit type, quality, character, room size, number, Workforce dwelling units shall be equivalent to the development's market rate dwelling units in terms of design, quality, construction, workmanship, mechanical, plumbing, etc. Workforce dwelling units shall be conveniently located to the development's common amenities, as are the development's market rate dwelling units. The dimensional requirements.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with you.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get dizzy. Dimensional requirements set forth section F by these bylaws shall apply both to the development's affordable dwelling units and its market rate dwelling units. The workforce dwelling units that are developed in accordance with this section shall remain affordable for not less than 30 years for newly created units. The planning board or designee thereof shall be responsible for administering this section and may promulgate rules, regulations, guidelines, and may include without limitation submission for dwelling units listed under the Executive Office of HLC's 40B housing inventory. The selection of qualified renters shall be effected under a marketing plan that shall be reviewed and approved by planning board, and such a marketing plan may accommodate rental preference requirements for Townsend residents and employees to the maximum extent possible.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's a lot, but you can consolidate it to one major thing.
I think everything I've read sounds like it's consistent with what
we've been doing.
with what we're aiming for.
Yes.
And I would
just, yeah.
I would feel comfortable endorsing
Endorsing aye. Yes.
endorsing aye.
Jay.
Yes.
Jay. Yeah, we'll just go with that then. Okay. Alrighty. So that takes care of.
Okay.
Now we
Thank you for highlighting that, Erin. Are there any others
Sure, no problem.
that you think are particularly pertinent to needing our review in this moment?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Are there any others that you think are particularly in need of housing authorities?
Of the draft bylaw language for the NBC communities?
Yeah.
I believe that one is most pertinent to the housing authority.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, full disclosure, I feel like I should have reviewed those in more detail before this meeting, but if there are others that can wait until next meeting, I think happy to do that between now and then.
That'd be good. Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. So is that covered as far as what we need to do this evening? I'm just asking. Are we all set?
Any other thoughts, Erin, that you think we should address
Tonight?
before adjourning?
So there was one other thing that I added into the packet. Let me pull it up. So this is correspondence that was received. This was 211 asking about the housing authorities information being provided to or by Mass 211. I wasn't sure if you wanted to review this all before I sent it back, as there is no, the housing authority does not own any property. I don't think that any of this would, or a lot of this would not apply. And I can go through and do most of the other things. If you'd like to add it onto your next meeting,
Yes.
you could look at it then instead, and we can wait to send it back. They just want to verify the information.
Yep.
Wait till next meeting?
Yeah, you would.
We'll do the August 8th meeting then.
We'll
do
take a
that.
look at it between now and then and come back prepared to
To look at it at the next
share
meeting.
our feedback.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
And I will put the hazard mitigation plan onto the next.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. All right, make a motion to adjourn. Anything else? Anything else we want to discuss?
Have a great trip to Kentucky. safe travels.
I make a
and
motion to adjourn.
come back with some great contacts.
Great
and
beer. Oh, I
information.
will. It's a lot of people I'm gonna be seeing. All right, we'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting then. Is that okay with the
Second,
All right, we're all in favor of adjourn. Thank you, Aaron.
thank you, Erin.
everybody. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty,
Turn this.
thank you both.
I have to go pack. I hate packing.
Recording stopped.
I so hate packing.
I do
And I
too.
gotta fly with Betty May. Oh my god. You know, she's picking me up tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. She says she's grumpy in the morning. Well, that makes two of us.
Yeah.
I hit the wall. I hit the wall today, and it was midnight to 6 a.m.